the one, the only Benzion. Good morning and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube. Iyun with Benzion as we continue Benzion Gittin Daf Pei today, number 80. I want to discuss a difference in halacha. There's a distinction in halacha, which comes out from the Mishnah, Iyun Tedamid Beis, we started with today, which talks about if you made a mistake in the text of the get. Part of the get, you're supposed to write the kingdom that you're living in, right? In the United States, you're supposed to write the 200, I calculated 47th year of the United States, 2023, 247th year of the United States. That would be, you have to write that in the get. I've never seen a get before, but I imagine if you're living in Israel, you'd have to write the 75th anniversary of Israel, unless you're anti-Zionist, then maybe you don't consider it to be Malchus. I don't know what practically to do here in Israel, but you're supposed to write, now these are actually the 76th year of Israel, but you'd have to write that, and if you don't write that, according to Reb Meir, and she remarries with a get, because it's a puzzle get, either Rabbanan, it's possible. Rabbanan said you have to write that, and they didn't write it, so we penalize her very strongly, and the get is not a valid get, even though it's Darabbanan, but it has the force, according to Rashi, of Del Rice, so it's not a good get. When she remarries, she's remarrying someone, she's already in age she's married to the first husband still, so if she has a child with the second husband, that child is a mamzer, Midal Rice. If she goes back to the first husband, that's a mamzer Darabbanan, but we penalize her both marriages, we ruin both marriages, because we don't want this to happen. And the end of the Mishnah says that if you shina shmo or shma shem ira v'shem ira, you wrote the wrong name for him or her, the man and the woman, or the city where they lived in. You got that wrong, right? Then also, and she marries again with that get, which is an invalid get, because the Rabbanan instituted to write the name of the man and the name of the woman and their places. That was not part of the basic text of a get d'oraisa. Is just writing hareza mutaras t'chol adam. You're trying to get your mutaras t'chol adam. That's the get d'oraisa. These added things that you're supposed to write for detailed, for just to make sure it's the right people, that's only the takana d'Rabbanan. So the question really is what's the difference? Rav says at the end of on Peyamud Beis, there's a distinction. Rav says there's a big distinction. He says the Seifa or a Mishnah reflects the opinion of the Rabbanan, who we hold like. The Reish is Reb Meir, we don't hold like Reb Meir. So there's a distinction in halacha that if you got the Malchus wrong, that does not invalidate the get b'diavad. But if you got his name or her name or their cities wrong, then it does invalidate the get. What's the difference? So I like to say, according to Rashi, because according to Tosfos holds in all cases, even according to Reb Meir, the get is valid in Doraisa because the Rabbanan don't have the ability to uproot a Doraisa. Only certain cases, Afkin Rabbanan Kedushim, we don't see the Rabbanan said Afkin Rabbanan Kedushim. How could the Rabbanan oker something which is getting the rice? It says Harei Mureshas, Harei Mutaras T'chol Adam, right? So it says the valid text of a get al rice, so you can't ruin that. But according to Rashi, it is ruined. And how is it ruined? And why is there a distinction? So the answer is that I've mentioned before, is that when we say the Rabbanan have a koach, the oker davar min Torah b'shev al tasa, and the Gemara says in Mesechus Yevamos, that's like taking a lulav on Shabbos, on the first day of Sukkot falls on Shabbos. Don't take the mitzvah d'oraisa of lulav, because you might come to carry down Sharab, and that's a gzeira. It's not the gzeira. I mentioned many times. There's a takana d'Rabbanan, which is a chizuk for a d'oraisa, and which is incorporated in d'oraisa almost, and then there's something which is apart from it. It's a side concern. So don't take lulav on the first day, not because inherently something wrong with taking lulav on Shabbos, because you might do something else, like doing lacha hotzah. That's a gzeira, and it's not part of the thing. So that's where the Chazal have to come up with the institution. That's the Chazal. We have to learn from Psukim. The Gemara learns in Mesechus Yevamos that sometimes, in some pressing circumstances, right, you're allowed to be oker davar min Torah b'shev al tasa, even for something which is not related, so perfectly to the d'oraisa. However, here that's the difference. I believe over here, what Rav is saying between Malchus and between Shem Ira v'Shem Ira, right? The reason you write Shem Malchus, the Gemara says on Daf Pei Amud Aleph, is Shlom Malchus. You don't want to write the wrong kingdom or not write about the kingdom. You want to give honor to the king, or to the empire, or to the country that you're from. That has nothing to do with inherent proving that it's a get. It's an ancillary, I'm not saying the right word, ancillary concern. It's not something directly related to the get. It's some other thing. So therefore, the Rabbanan don't have the power. According to the Rabbanan, we possibly they don't have the ability to uproot, to say because we enforce it the Rabbanan, so we're going to uproot the get midal rice. However, when it comes to Shem Ira v'Shem Ira, the reason they instituted was that to make sure that it's the right people, right? If you want to prove it, It's her name, his name, and their city, so we can validate the get. If someone tries to claim he didn't give a get, the woman could pull it out and say, no, it's the right name. So it was there to enforce the validity of the get. That's part of Takana Rabbanan. Yesh koach b'yacham. The Rabbanan were given certain powers, which is really included. Kol the Tikkun Rabbanan Kain Dal Raisa. The Rabbanan have powers to construe a Doraisa. The Doraisa is pretty simple, but construing the Doraisa, it's not really, it's not changing the Doraisa. It's just adding elaboration on the Doraisa that maybe is not so clear. Right? It's Halach Lamashusina sometimes does, and the Rabbanan's Divrei Sofrim does a lot of, and we find over here that Kol the Tikkun Rabbanan Kain Doraisa Tikkun. If it's something which is part of the very fabric of the get midoraisa, is there to prove the validity of the get, that is stronger, and the Rabbanan have the ability to prove the Raisa because they were given that power midoraisa, right? It says that you have to listen to Sanhedrin. It says, Zakin Mamre, you have to listen and call whatever Sanhedrin says you have to listen to, right? Lo sasuru me'adavar she'gil chay. I mean, it was small. It says you have to listen to Rabbanan. When do you have to listen to Rabbanan? When it's something, an elaboration of the Doraisa, when it's something ancillary to the Doraisa, to protect the Doraisa outside of the Doraisa itself, that is not a mitzvah Doraisa. That we don't say lo sasur me'adavar she'gil chay small, and therefore it's not with Doraisa, and you can't validate the get according to the Rabbanan, which is the halacha. Hope you enjoyed today's share. See you in the next one.